Thank you for returning. It's been a long day, but I think it's been a really interesting and really valuable one, and I'm really grateful for your company. Leah, great question, and I really wish we had a better answer. Thank you for asking that of Peckham. Quite get the answer we wanted to hear, but anyway, thank you. So it's our final session, and I want to bring people together to hear from you about the day and maybe a way of moving forward. But I'd like to hear from Arthur, because I think of all the countries that I certainly visited recently, Hungary have very good family policies, and they do have these policies which give mothers more of a choice than I've seen in, I think, any other country. They do value the family, and they do put a large percentage. They do put a lot of money into some supporting families, and they are also looking at housing as well, which I think is a really important issue, and taxation. So I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sometimes it's quite difficult to talk about very important issues in the afternoon on Friday, but I hope that I will be quick to the point, and then you can be enlightened by my words a bit more in respect of the Hungarian situation and policy. And I don't want to say too much, but I would like to introduce some thoughts in respect of the opportunities provided by the best practices, because we are looking for in European Union is a tradition that we are looking for best practices, and maybe not all the time, but only the best practices. No practices we failed at the end, because we have learned from it. Our institution is a background institute of the Hungarian family policy, and our main task is to provide strategic support and scientific evidence for policy making. And I believe that it is very important that the government made the decision to establish such a kind of institution. And they would like to hear the outcomes of researches and analyses conducted by researchers, and not only civil servants working in ministries. And I believe that is a very important best practice approach, or could be a this approach. After listening what has been said today, in respect of the importance of the position of motherhood, I need to emphasize the fact that one of the most important policy principles in Hungary is that the mother should be put in the focus, and family policy should be based on the mother's needs. And this kind of approach can help to find such a kind of solutions and measures to be introduced by a government, which could be really helpful, because we do really feel that every family situation is different. Even in one family can change a lot from year to year, and different kind of expectations and different kind of challenges are there to be faced by the family and the mothers. And from this perspective, it is very important to create a flexible system with more than 30 measures are there in Hungary in respect of the support of families as a system. And I believe that it is a very important thing, because in most of the cases the families need not only financial support, but other kind of support are also very important. But as Anne has mentioned, two very important issues for the families in Hungary: the home ownership, so the flat or the house where they could start their life as a family. And from this perspective, I need to admit that before 1990, very few people would have the opportunity to have own home. And this kind of ownership is very important for the next generation. One of the issue for the Hungarian young people is that whether they could be in a position to buy an own home, a flat, maybe, or a house in the countryside to start their life. And if they don't have a vision in respect of this, if they don't have the opportunity in respect of this, they could feel insecure to start their life as a family. So in Hungary, there are a lot of opportunities in respect of buying a home, supported by the government. From 2024, an interest-free home creation loan, which was the most important measure introduced last year, from 50 million to 50 million forint, which is in pounds 30,000 and 100,000 pounds. It is as I mentioned, interest-free home creation loan for the young couple to buy a home in Hungary, and I do believe that it is very important that if they decide how many children they would like to have, they can decide how many support they would like to ask for to start their life in their own home. There is another very important measure, and it is a free loan up to 11 million forint, which is at about 22,400 pounds. During the family planning period, so you don't have to be with children at that time when you are asked for this free loan, and this is called baby expecting subsidy, and the obligation to pay loan. These loans decreases with the number of children are born in the family, and this eliminated, and this, and it is very important to see that it is eliminated. The remaining loan is eliminated when the family has their third child. Wow. So I do believe it is a very understandable and measurable vision for the young couples. The other one, and we do believe that it is also a very important one, not just giving financial support, but leaving some money with the family. It is based on another very important policy principle in Hungary, and that is that those who have and raise children should be better off financially than those who do not. And I believe that is a very important message for the young people, for the young couples starting their life as a family. And for this reason, there is a wide range of personal income tax allowance and exemptions for those raising children. And one of the first measure it was introduced by the government is a family taxation system, which means that the more children a family has, the less personal income tax it has to pay. So it is not about one person and taking into consideration her or his salary, but in respect of the taxation system, they are handled as only as a family and not as individuals. And I do believe that it is also very important that this year the Hungarian government is doubling the amount left to families, especially to compensate for inflation. In previous years, you might recall that in Hungary that was a very huge inflation. But I didn't want to mention it because it was so generous. I wanted to mention it that the Hungarian system is a system which is renewed from time to time, introducing new measures, exchanging measures which are not so useful anymore, or not really expected in practice by the population, by the families, and our government is trying to introduce from time to time, keeping the flexibility of the system, introduce new and new measures, and I do believe that this kind of renewal is very important in a family policy. I do also want to mention that yes, when we are talking about the importance of motherhood, it is very important that our system and the system should be very generous, especially in respect of the first 6 months after giving birth. In Hungary, after giving birth, the mother has the previous salary. And it is not only that she keeps the money that she earned earlier, but she receives more because of the taxation system. These together gives the opportunity for mother to receive more at the end of the day than the earlier salary. After the beginning of birth. And also till the child is 2 years old, 100% of the current minimum wage is provided for mothers. And from this perspective, I do believe that it is or that could be useful for you to hear that a typical Hungarian mother returns to the labor market around 2 per child. So not immediately after the birth, but in most of the cases, they are remaining at home with their children. They are receiving a visible amount of money, at least for the 6 months is much better than the earlier earnings, but after that also there is a visible amount of money provided by the system to help the family. And I do also need to emphasize the fact that it is very important to reconcile work and family life, and from this perspective, for the Hungarians and for the population, it was very important, and for the couples, it was very important that a significant improvement should be introduced and maintained by the government, was a very important target. And the nursery care system in Hungary has collapsed after 1990. At the beginning of the 2000s, it was a privilege to have the opportunity for a child to be cared in a nursery, and now different kind of nurseries were introduced in Hungary, and I do believe that it is very important to see that this can be a real help for families, and 3 times municipalities have nowadays nurseries that they have in 2010, which means tripled the number of the towns, the cities, and the little municipalities where you can ask for a place in a nursery. And according to the decision taken by the government, kindergarten in Hungary is compulsory and free from the age of 3, and it plays an important role in preparing children for school. But the nursery is a care institute. It's not an educational institute, exactly like Kinga mentioned earlier. And I do believe that it is very important to see that Hungary has seen an increase in both births and employment, and that's why I wanted to introduce some measures to you in respect of the Hungarian family policy. What we see that these kind of family policies can help turn in the trends, the earlier trends, and of course, one of the most important trends is whether the fertility rate is raising or not. It is very important, but what I have heard today, it is also other kind of important factors to be taken into consideration. For example, the number of marriages. The number of marriages is rising in Hungary. The number of divorces is declining, has been declining in the last 15 years, and the number of abortions also has declined in Hungary. And I do believe that it is very important to see that this kind of change in trends can help to rebuild a vision of a society, how to live in family, the value of family life, and I do believe that that's why we can say that Hungary became a family-friendly country. And not only in respect of small families, but even in a bigger family, a large family to live in Hungary became a trendy vision of life, and I believe that it is very important that when you are living in a society, if you have the strong feeling that you are disgusted because you have a child which is loud and making a mess, and then you just can't be in a position to read calmly your newspapers. I do believe that from this perspective, it is very important to see that if you can bring some changes for the whole society, and not only for the families, but for the whole society to be adoptive, to be accepting these circumstances. That raising a child is not all the time still a calm process. I do believe that there was some visible changes in Hungary. And also, I wanted to introduce to you. Just one thing I wanted to mention, that in respect of the importance of early childhood in Hungary, I wanted to mention that there is a health visitor system, and it means that these people are nurses who personally help mothers, and mostly at home they provide advice, often very visible and very good and practical advices, for example, on breastfeeding. And I just wanted to finish with this number. For this reason, the breastfeeding rate in Hungary is quite high, 45% at 6 months of the baby, compared to an EU average of 25%. So from this perspective, I believe that these kind of best practices could be a help when somebody is trying to introduce their own policies for people.
Thank you. You have great policies. I don't know if you mentioned, but did you say that after having 3 children, you don't pay tax anymore? I think it's the same in Poland when you have 4 children. You don't pay tax.
The mother
pays tax.
Doesn't have after 4 children.
Oh, right. You don't pay tax.
For the rest of your life.
The rest of your life.
Yeah.
No, we don't do midnight. That doesn't mean you have to go back to work. It's harder though. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Short comment in Poland, but unfortunately in Poland, there was a design made to make it a progressive kind of tax reduction, yes. Unfortunately, and I know it because I've been quite close to, due to political pressure, someone wanted to offer somebody else a political present, they just pushed it quickly, and oversimplified, which I think in the end it's not that will not be very effective as progressive tax reduction.
Yeah.
I'm just interested to know, because we've heard a lot today about the fact that things that we've been talking about, like breakdown of families, of children spending more time away from the family home, and addiction, social media has caused a massive rise in mental health issues with children in this country and lots of other countries, in the US and the EU. So you're saying that the things that have been going on in Hungary are trying to reverse that trend and make families spend more time together and children more time with their mothers. Are you seeing any reverse in the sort of the mental health issues with children, or have you not seen the increase that other countries have had? What's the sort of the state of play with that in Hungary?
To be honest, just talking about the colleagues earlier, that in Hungary also happened that according to the COVID, for example, in the Generation Z, it is very visible that for that generation it was not manageable. So we are facing very serious problems in respect of mental health at this age class, and they are the new parents. They are at the age now to start a family life, but in most of the cases they are not. They are not ready to create a relationship. They are not ready to start their life as a family. Sometimes they just don't have the wish to have a connect with another person, and then they are exactly like in the other countries in the European Union. We see that more and more, and especially the young men decide to remain at home with their parents, especially with the mother, if it is possible. And I do believe that it is very important to see that it is a real challenge for the coming years. And then I also wanted to mention in respect of this that for most of the young generation, this insecurity in Europe, and especially in Hungary, which is next to Ukraine, the earlier security, the feeling of security has changed and then diminished somehow. So they just don't see a vision, a perspective for their future. And I do believe that it is very important to give it back to the young persons, that kind of security and the feeling of security for the future. But mental health issue is a living issue. And personally, I was shocked when I learned that not only the elderly are facing with serious loneliness problems, but the generations also.
More information. We had that kind of system when I gave birth 30 years ago in France. And there was the same situation. You had to, during the 4 months of leave of absence for the birth, you got your complete salary, and it was not you got 80% of the salary, but it was not impacted by taxes. So actually, you had at least the same. And there was what they called the quotient familial, what meant that salary of men and women were put together and divided through 2 parts because of men and women, and a half part with each child. So taxes were much lower when you had the same salary base for a family with children compared to a family without children. And it was very family friendly. I have not been able to follow all the details. It seems it worsened because it was considered discriminating families without children or homosexual families without children. So in 30 years it got less family friendly. In Belgium we have the quotient of Portugal, what makes that if the woman does not work, part of the salary of the man is separated and gets a tax deduction because of it. And something very interesting that probably I didn't hear about this in other countries, that for your pension, if you are a woman and you have not been working, the pension of the man is multiplied by 133%, so that it covers both people. And when the man deceives before the woman, he gets the 100% of the pension of the man. And I'm not sure this would be the same in the other countries. I don't know how it is. No.
Not in Brazil. So in Poland, like in Poland, we have, was in 2019, it was introduced the so-called the retirement, the pension of Mama 4+, which means that the woman who gave birth and raised 4 and more children is entitled to the lowest retirement pension when she reaches the retirement age, and it's also available to fathers in case the mother died. So it's available to one of the parents who were not as active in the labor market, and of course most often it's a woman. This is one thing, and when it comes to general remarks, if I may, I would also, based on our practice and example in Poland with the former government, I must say that we somehow succeeded as a think tank and as a group of people who were pro-family to convince and to, I would say somehow, train in some aspects people engaged in politics to reverse somehow the language. So after 2 or 3 years, we have been hearing more and more often in Poland from the politicians that family is an investment, not a cost to the budget. And well, the argument is simple because well, economically looking, the state has hardly any own money. The money that the state has are produced by children born in the families. So the state needs the children to pay its bills, and it's economics. It's not ideology or religion or whatever. It's economics. So I encourage you to rather, because quite often in such disputes and conference, pro-family conferences, we talk about the state should support, the state should help, as if we ask for something that is not ours in the end, because it's well, for example, instead of supporting and helping, maybe it's also useful sometimes to say stop punishing parents for wanting to have families and children, because what we have now in tax system and other areas, we sometimes, it's simply economic punishment. Yeah? So that's my experience also, and well, I must say that of course it's a repetitive work with politicians, but it's efficient. Maybe last thing, think about it, because I think it was possible in Poland in some cases to convince politicians that taking as a political mark that they would be recognized for the family policy and family as the center of society, because I know in Poland it turned into real political support from the people. Yes, when people see that this politician is family friendly, most of the people live in the families. Yes. And sometimes politicians I know are looking for what should I be like concentrated on. So if you know such politicians that are looking for something, maybe try to convince them that family is the best like topic for going forward in politics.
There is an opportunity here, but we've got the guts to, I don't know. Okay, I just got a couple more questions. I know I don't want people to.
That was a very good point that you made. Many parents, mothers feel that they are punished if they are staying with child because their pensions would be lower, and they are, if they have difficulties in their career development and so on. And while we understand that this civil service, what the parents do for their children, would also worth of pension
Yeah.
later. That is, it shouldn't be related to a certain workplace, but it is just the work that the person has done for the society. So that should be the thought. And there's also another matter that I have in my mind now when we highlight the mother's role, that there's a mother and father, and some good studies indicate show how the fathers are important for children. And also fathers can take the lead in their life and be with their children, and that strengthens the relationship. And the fathers also would earn pension for that time. That is not like a holiday that is you know, but also that a woman or mother who returns to work after the longer period needs support for that, so that is a training or re-education. This is accepted that the rapidly developing country and digital systems developing so that it is accepted period, and then there is support to return. So it can be done quite easily.
Just very quickly, because I don't want to run over.
I would like to underline something I just mentioned here. As a Hungarian, I'm so proud to announce that I think we have found a nice balance for families and for women staying at home with children and you heard that she's better off with the full salary and the tax for redemption when the child is small. And the gentleman a couple of hours ago, he said that let's not demonize the institutions. And that's right. And I mentioned that the number of the nurseries has tripled, and there's a need for that too. But it is a choice. And we have our fair issues of mental illnesses and our problems and economy and everything in Hungary. But this, I think, it's working. And he hasn't mentioned, but many of you already know, because I keep saying this, that this think tank research company he's representing bears the name of Maria Kopp, who was a great demographer, and she said the main goal is that the wished for children should be born. And let's not punish the families who have children. And there was a big research regarding views that what do you think in 5 years regarding family issues and how many children you want, and they want 3 children, 4 children, 5 children. And as they grow closer to that age, when getting it, running a family or so, or maybe just 2 because I can't, maybe 1, and let's go without children. So the wishful children, what happened to them? So if at least the government is helpful and proactive, and as Erika said before, we should be pro-natalists, because some people just don't want children, but those who do want children, let's give them the opportunity to have them. If not 3, then 2 or 1, because all the big families start with the first child. So that's what I would say.
Lovely, thank you. Well, I just want to say thank you all. I'm going to ask Ed to round off a bit, but thank you all. I think it's been a really excellent day. I think we could probably go on for another day just discussing it, but I think we've just made a first step. There's a couple of things I think we can move forward with. Maria's been tasked with putting this into a report, so I think once we've done that, and we might be able to put a very small sort of manifesto or something that maybe we can work together, that's something we can agree on. But the things that sort of immediately come to mind is sort of changing the narrative in terms of valuing the parent. So it's not a battle between nursery and home care, it's more we want to value the parent as well, and that should be part of the proposing parliament, part of the argument. I think we can make a case for parties taking out this family-friendly stance. I mean, it's an opportunity for parties to say we want to support parents. But I mean, I wanted to challenge Frank on the you know, what mothers want. And if I was playing devil's advocate, I would say, you know, you just have to look on the streets. You've got thousands and thousands of mothers marching for childcare. Whereas if I went on the street, I might have 5 if I was lucky. But I think underneath that, the childcare, it's the economic issue. It's like we can't afford to be at home. We can't afford, but all our money is going into childcare. So we're not actually better off. We're all struggling. But under that, there's also some anger that all of our money is now going on to childcare. So I think there's a lot of common ground, and we've got to find that common ground. I think there's some work we can be doing with Heckman in terms of valuing the work, or the valuing the work of parenting. So I think there's something there we could be doing, and also something that Ed said about, you know, the trade-offs. It might be worth sort of doing a few equations. You know, if we might lose a little bit of money in terms of people's employment here, but actually in the long term, you have a much well-rounded workforce later on.
Short-term GDP versus damaging long-term GDP by focusing so much on maximising in female employment now.
And actually, the question, where do we want to be headed as a society, and do we want all our goals to be economic, or do we want to have some sort of human well-being goals? I don't know if you want to add.
And I mean, I suppose there are 2 things that I've taken away from this. The first one, it was something that Eric said actually, but the reason she comes to these things is because she finds lonely doing what she does. And it's been incredibly encouraging to hear from people all around the globe who are working in this area, and to hear things that are working in Hungary and things that people are progressing. And so the first thing would just be to really encourage you to keep doing this, to thank you for organising it, to say keep this momentum going. Because if someone like Erica finds it lonely, I'm sure some of you must find it really quite terrible. So let's keep this going, keep momentum, keep talking to each other, keep exchanging, encouraging. The second thing is, this feels like a bit of an insurgency. We are quite a small in number group fighting against quite a big machine. I remind my wife's grandfather was in the Special Operations Executive in the Second World War, sort of the precursor to the SAS, and they all had their specialism. His specialism was stink bombs and exploding poo. And the idea was that they would put the poo on the roads to explode the cars, to interrupt transfer and things, and they would put on the jackets. The idea being, if they made jackets, they couldn't be building bombs. And it was small, it was a small thing. But regardless of the area you are in, it may feel small, whether you are doing a bit of research, or a bit of policy, or politics, or media, or something like that. But it all adds up. And so I would just encourage you the thing you are doing, that lane you're in at the moment, really matters. If you are publishing research, if you are writing in the media, if you are just going around and talking about this, that's really important. So keep that going in your individual work as well.
And just to thank everyone for coming, and especially those that have come so far.